fact, given us much to chew on the history of Spain, as a matter of fact, and the way it has gone around its history in order to establish new context. Before I open the floor for discussions, I'll take the advantage of being in the chair to ask your question myself. This is almost a theoretical one, which applies not just to Spain, but to the members of the European Union who are beginning to open up to the rest of the world as well. Does the fact that the European Union is sort of consolidating itself as a single foreign affairs unit, in other words, controlling the foreign affairs of member units more and more, does it create any problems or impediments on the part of those members of the European Union who want to strike out on their own, important members of the European Union as you have? Does it create a constraint?
Well, not at all. It really does not create a constraint for us. It just helped us in our individual endeavors. You know, the framework of the common foreign policy is more a framework than anything else. And, great freedom of action is given to member states. There is not really any constraint to individual foreign policy.
Not in trade, not in trade, for instance.
Well, trade promotion is a resort of the individual states. It does not exist as such as a policy of the European Union. So we continue trying to trade by ourselves.
Okay, the floor is open. Questions, comments, queries? Yes. If you identify yourself, Dr. Shanti.
My question is regarding Afghanistan. I think the focus of the NATO in Afghanistan has been more security dominated. And with the talks of withdrawal and the withdrawal actually occurring next year, there are serious concerns that whatever gains have been achieved in Afghanistan in the last decade could be reversed. How do you in Spain look at the situation in Afghanistan, given that there is a kind of stalemate evolving out there in terms of the peace talks with the Taliban and a regime in power which is not very strong enough to hold on to the gains? So do you think a military withdrawal from Afghanistan is the answer, given that radicalization is also increasing? And the second question is, given that there are differences within the NATO alliance itself, how do you see the alliance growing out of the situation in Afghanistan into something where future threats could be addressed?
Good Lord. Very difficult question. I'm not a specialist in Afghanistan at all. No, well, taking into account that we are, apart from having been in NATO, we are also big proponents of the alliance of civilizations. It is something that we will try to press home in the situation in Afghanistan. We will try to form a bridge also, and to try to see whether more cooperation can be achieved between different points of view and different points of view in questions of the relationship between the faiths and the relationship of the political systems derived from those faiths. That is what I think we will try to do. I really do not know.
And the question on the divisions within the alliance itself?
Could you? The problem is I am.
You have to speak a little louder. Yeah.
No, my second question was on the divisions within the NATO, which has been evident during the war in Afghanistan. Do you think these fault lines are going to increase?
Divisions within NATO, are the fault lines going to increase? What do you say as the ambassador of Spain? I'm sure you're not in a position to comment on that. Yes, sir.
Your Excellency, my name is Prasun Mukherjee. I'm the chairman of Universal Success. Our company does a lot of work on we're in the industrial group in India. My question is that, do you find a very constrained situation? It's not a political question, but in the European Union, what we see that both Greece and Spain do not have the right of devaluation, because you're using euro as a currency. Now, does that affect this sharper recovery? What we have seen in Southeast Asia, rupiah devalued to 17,000 rupiah. It was, it went down 8 times. And today, I think Indonesia is back as a tiger economy, and I think there was the free fall of the currency was allowed. The asset which were available for now today, if you want to buy an asset in Spain or in Greece, it's still not cheap. Unless you go to a bank and they give a haircut on the asset and things like this. The Greek asset and the Spain assets are still not cheap because these are all valued in euro. Now, do you think that, by joining the European Union, the countries like Greek and Spain are taking much longer time to recover from the economic crisis? If they would not have been and would have been independent like Thailand and Indonesia, or for that matter Malaysia, which through the devaluation was one of the fastest thing which they did. Assets were sold cheap, foreign money came in, and the economy recovered very fast. So what's your opinion on that, Your Excellency?
There is a school of thought that says that we might have shot ourselves in the foot by joining the euro. I certainly do not agree with it. It is true that it would have been easier for us to be able to devalue any currency in order to make the pass of the crisis smoother. Nevertheless, we have to recognize that we have gained enormously from the euro, and Greece has also gained enormously from the euro. And prices of assets in Spain and in Greece have certainly gone down quite a lot. If you're talking about property, prices of landed property in Spain have gone down practically between 30 and 40%. So it is, if you want to buy a house, a vacation house in Spain, I encourage you to do so now because it's very cheap. Matter of fact, I tried to buy one. So it is true that we have not been able to use this tool of the valuation, which is extremely important and interesting to get out of the doldrums of the crisis, but we have had other advantages from the euro that we cannot underestimate at all. I do not know. The euro has given us many things, and in particularly the euro, when it was adopted by Spain, gave Spain a very important psychological boost. Even though it made us a little bit angry not to be able to be millionaires as easily. One of the things that I think was very, very hard for Italians when they joined the euro is that they suddenly started, they were not millionaires anymore. Same thing happened to us. 1 million pesetas, which was, it always sounded very much, was 6,000 paltry euros. We had to suffer that deflation of our vanity for something else. And the euro did give us many things. And it gave us the idea, the psychological idea of being an important part of a project. And that important part of the project, I think, will continue being. And I think that the introduction of the euro and the knitting of a tighter eurozone has given us more of an idea of belonging to Europe than not belonging to it. If we did not have that psychological cement, it is very possible that the links or the bonds between Greece and Spain and the other parts of the eurozone would be even weaker.
What do you think, Mr. Mukherjee? Do you have a position on this?
No, that's my position. I personally feel that, that at 35 billion, at $35 billion, $35 billion aid to Indonesia and almost, I think I do not exactly remember, probably 17 or 18, or probably no aid, only some support from the IMF. Thailand came out of the crisis. and it was through the main mechanism of devaluation. Hundreds of real estate projects which came to standstill have been brought up. In the center of Jakarta, Nico Group bought up an asset for $20 million from the Salim Group of Indonesia, and which is worth today probably $500 million. The Salim Group has become a $120 billion empire after the crisis. The country has come out, and Nico got an asset which was at $20 million. They added value to that project, and they did it. And you're saying, my position is this, you're saying that both Greek asset and Spain assets are cheaper. They are cheaper by the euro. What I'm trying to say is that they are, any case like the American asset. If you're talking about if you had a real estate project, let's say $200 million project in America, you take over the debt, you do a haircut, or the developer comes and sells it cheap. But if the actual because the devaluation has not happened, the real money is not going in, because it is still, in my opinion, is still very expensive. What you are saying that the prices which has come down 50% or maybe 40% as such, if the entire economy would have been euro, it would have been still gone down 50%. So the positive effects of devaluation has not affected any of these things. Secondly, when you devalue a currency, the people, the economy generally are the poorer people or the people in mass are used to the salary in the local currency. So the price of rice, price of everything does not go up, because you buy rice, you buy your daily essentials in the local currency. So the local currency, if it gets devalued, you can still buy a lot if you do not depend completely on import like in Singapore. So in that way, and then obviously I do not want to be very apolitical. I do a large amount of business with some of the large economies of European Union. It's basically going to be 2-3 countries, $300-400 billion, which are going to be very difficult to pay back by either Greece or Spain for many years to come. So that's my point, and I might be. This is just my view on this.
Well, one of the effects of devaluation is precisely to make exports more competitive. We have not had a devaluation, but our exports have become far more competitive now, because there has been an internal devaluation of prices in Spain. We are making less money, but we are also exporting much more. For the first time in 25 years, we had a positive balance of payments last month. Something that our exports, in particular exports to Asia, have grown quite a lot. In the case of Singapore, exports of pork meat have grown enormously now because of the taste of Singaporeans for jamón serrano, which is something that is pricing it out of our pockets, actually.
But is being in Europe, outside the Eurozone, an option for Spain?
I don't think it is. Going out of the Eurozone would be such a messy process that it would not, the advantages of the devaluation of having your own central bank would be totally offset by the terrible consequences of getting out of the Eurozone.
See, this is another, Your Excellency, the downside of there's a conscious decision to come to European Union. I was with the Romanian ambassador the other day, and I think they are also looking, a lot of countries are looking forward to enter, so there must be. The one thing which happens is also, when there's only few countries which can help in the process of recovery of a country. Whereas whenever you work with an organization with International Monetary Fund, though it has 50% vote of United States, but still, the world contributes to the recovery. Whereas here, the recovery is limited to few countries. It's not limited to the world. So, and again, it kind of, somehow restricts. You see, the better assets get taken up by the European Union countries. So it's not going to be taken up by the Nikko of Japan or maybe another large company from United States or from a big company in India. The assets are more easily disposable to the powerful European Union countries. So, I'm not arguing this.
It's a totally legitimate point of view, The only thing is also the IMF has also taken part in the Greek bailout. It is not limited to funds from the European Union. So,
but just one question. If you are in the European Union, can the IMF not be involved?
No, they have. He's very right that IMF has contributed, but the powerful European Union contributes more. And see, when you are disposing the assets of it, why is my concern? Directly to we were tendering a Greek shipping fund, with more than 150 ships, but they obviously went to a French company. As such, because I think the French bank had bailed out and they wanted the asset to go to a French company. But whereas if you so it's almost like Iraq, where most of the good assets of Iraq gets taken by America in a different way, not through war, but through providing money. So we went through a bid process, everything, but then at the end of the day, BNP Paribas said that this is the that we would like we have a French company who wants to take it. So I'm not criticizing the process, but
no, understood.
But
it's as I tell you, it's a legitimate point of view. It is also legitimate that you want to enhance your business. Probably the French bank wants to do exactly the same thing. That is why they were the ones who got the asset, because they had provided money and they wanted security for that money. It is true that one of the effects of having a common market or a one market is precisely to make things easier for the people who are in that market.
Okay.
Okay, my name is, Your Excellency, my name is Tang Li. I'm known in the ISS circles for owning a blog, but I actually make my living through running a one-man public relations agency that deals with government-to-government projects. One of my key interests has always been the dialogue between the Islamic world and with the Christian world of the West. I guess you heard say that in South Asia, you're talking about the majority of South and Southeast Asia contribute to the majority of the world's Muslims. You have the European Union, which was in medieval times the bastion of Christendom. Today, you have a situation where both civilizations have been at loggerheads, war on terrorism, the Islamic world says you've been victimizing us. Given Spain has a history that you've just mentioned where the southern of Spain was from Granada, and that was run as a caliphate, as part of the original Muslim empire, and the north of Spain was a Christian empire, and you mentioned that there was free trade and free movement. Do you think there are elements from that Spanish history where Spain can play an active role in promoting dialogue, the dialogue of civilizations, and considering that you have Morocco across the border, across the sea, which had to try to stave off its own Arab Spring, do you think Spain what can Spain do to cement and aid the young democratization parts of the Arab world, and what can Spain do maybe in a way that the Scandinavian countries have done to show a different type of, or to promote peace in the Middle East and with the Islamic world?
Well, we can provide a historical example, you know, but as a matter of fact, I do not believe that Islam is totally incompatible with democracy, as many people say, because Christianity is too. There are no elections in heaven every 4 years, and St. Peter doesn't run for God. No, these are things that do not have anything to do with each other. Say, well, now Jesus says, "Who is not with me is against me." If that is democracy, I do not know what other things are. The framework that gives rise to democracy is something that doesn't have anything to do with Christianity or with Islam. It is something that has to do with reason and with the way people govern themselves, not the way people live on earth, not the way people go to heaven. If you want to go to heaven, as the song goes, let me tell you what to do, get to grease your feet on the mountains. Going to heaven is something. Living on earth is something else. And Christianity has a way of going to heaven that is not forced upon people who want to live on earth. If you want to go to heaven the Christian way, you do, but you're not going to be more democratic because you're Christian and less democratic because you're not. And the same as you are not going to be, we talk about other religions, it's the same thing. You're not more democratic because you're a Buddhist, if you're a Muslim or a Christian. If you are a Buddhist, supposedly, and in pure theory, the world doesn't exist. It is nothing but a mirage and something that you are supposed to be free of. So we don't exist and we don't have a personal existence at all. So how democratic is that? It is extremely democratic. You don't exist, you don't have anything to do. So we can offer that. We can offer an example of history and how things work. And how things worked then. We can also try to be a rational influence in how the relationship between religions is managed. But I believe that religion is something very intimate that you have to live by yourself. Now, when my first posting, as Professor Chowdhury has told you, was in Lebanon in 1979. I was stopped in the middle of the street by a group of fighters. You know, I'd gone out at night. I just arrived in Beirut and didn't know anything about it. And I went out at night and saw a little street with many colorful banners. And I said, oh, nice place. It must be a bar or something. And I went down there. Of course, it was not a bar. I was immediately stopped, asked to surrender my passport, and I was asked if I knew how to pray. I thought that my last day had arrived. And I said, yes, I know how to pray. And they told me, where do you pray? In a church or in a mosque? And I said, you know, I am Spanish. In my country, most people are Christian. But I think that this is something very intimate, and you don't have to kill me for that. They understood it, and they didn't kill me. That's why I'm here.
St. Peter.
Interview. But actually, sorry, you want to?
No, I was going to say, but then that leads to an interesting point, because you have, I mean, I get what you're saying about religion, but then will Spain maybe try and open, I mean, with the economic situation, try and do a free trade agreement, you know, with, say, in Morocco, or increase trade with Morocco in order for Spanish businesses to look for new markets, or for, you know, to ease immigration and help, you know, the freer movements of people between North Africa and Spain.
But we have lots of economic interests in Morocco. And we are economically very active in North Africa, and we have no problem with North African legal immigration into Spain. The problem is that there are certain requirements that immigrants have to fulfill. I understand that right now, Spain is not a very attractive place to go, and most irregular immigrants, because speaking of illegal immigrants is quite harsh, that go to Spain only go there to cross it and go somewhere else. But
Yeah, but to go back to your first question, I mean, actually Spain is involved in reacting to the need for interfaith dialogue. I'm just saying reacting to the need because the Alliance of Civilization is called just that because it wanted to avoid the mention of faith. You have faith among dialogue among faiths, but the alliance was among civilizations. And interestingly, the other country which was not chosen or volunteered or whatever was Turkey. So you had a very Christian, very Catholic country, European. You had one-time signal of Europe, but you had a Muslim country, secular or secularish, and then you had the United Nations involved, and Iran was also very closely involved in the process. So, and it came at a very important point juncture. That was during the crisis of the cartoons, the Prophet's cartoons. So actually, Spain and of course Turkey and also Iran reacted at a point in time when this kind of value set was necessary in reaction to an international situation. Mr. Suryanarayan. The mic, please. Yeah, just below you. Okay.
Have you really and fully solved the mystery of the Madrid bombings? And at the initial stages of investigation, there was some mention of an Indian national being involved. Do you know anything further on that, and what is the final take on the Madrid bombings? That is one. And secondly, have you ever thought of what the world would have been if Columbus had discovered the real Asia?
if Columbus had arrived in Asia instead of in America,
The world would have been saved from America.
probably I will be speaking Spanish now. I will be speaking Spanish to you now. I don't know. But, and as far as the Madrid bombings, you know, the only country that has had a total legal process about it has been Spain. And the responsibility, the responsible people that have been identified was not immigration. They were mainly Moroccans. Matter of fact, it was only lone wolves, even though it was quite a painful episode for us. But I think that we did have a good investigation, that we did have a due process of law, and that the people involved were judged with, tried within the legal system with the whole protection of the rights, which I think is something very important that hasn't happened in other places.
Well, yes.
So Bachelor,
Mike, please, because you
Because he's there.
No. We all need to hear.
I'm Lincoln from ISAS. You have explained how with Spain, with each of the different South Asian countries have very different interests. For instance, with Bangladesh in the microfinance, with India, maybe defense, and in a cooperation to Latin America, which is very different than in Pakistan, quite different. So there's quite disparate. Do you foresee that going forward, Spain would move in terms of relations with the South Asian countries under the framework of the EU, or more as an independent foreign policy, an independent Spanish foreign policy?
I think we'll try to do both. if possible at the same time. We'll try to intervene more within the European framework and also, of course, to advance our own interests. One thing that I always find extremely interesting along my career was cultural cooperation. And cultural cooperation is something that tries to fuse the culture of one country with the culture of another. And in cultural cooperation, I think we'll continue to go our own way also, if possible, with some European funds. Always interesting. Yes.
Yeah, so I would add to that, to make it logistically more,
microphone.
okay, I would add to that, to make it more logistically possible, will there be any direct flights from Madrid to Bombay or Delhi?
Two?
Direct flights?
From Madrid to Bombay and Delhi, will there be
Madrid
direct
and
flights?
Mumbai and Delhi,
Ah.
Well, that is something that Indian Airlines will have to decide as well.
Yes.
There is a direct flight from Singapore to Barcelona now.
Yeah.
And there, I think there were direct flights from Madrid to Delhi before.
Okay.
But it is, well, you know, if people continue, if Indians continue to go smash themselves in tomatoes, it will probably give them a direct flight to Valencia or to Alicante. You are, well, we are now, you have begun Ramadan today, but...
If there is market, there will be flights. I mean, what is there to prevent it?
No, but, okay. As a frequent business traveler, I often describe it as a non-tariff barrier to entry when there are no direct flights.
Yeah.
I see.
And so they'll come, but the sooner they come, even if you have one.
But you feel there's a market for it? You feel there's enough movement of between...
Well, if there's a market for it, the airlines
The airlines will
Yeah.
go, but that's
do it
that's
anyway.
a logical extrapolation.
You can always use one of the hubs, Singapore or Abu Dhabi or
Yes.
whatever. But I certainly prefer direct flights.
Air India has largely depended on ethnic market, I think.
Yes.
I mean, like other South Asian airlines, you see. So, you know, I mean, these specific European destinations sometimes difficult for us. I mean, in the sense that there is, now there is, I mean, you speak of this 20,000 Pakistanis or, and Bangladeshis in Spain. But I myself used to be in the aviation ministry at one point in time. And the only thing that we had in Bangladesh in Europe was then Britain and thereafter Germany. I mean,
That is totally normal. You have this British bias. You go there.
well, if Columbus had come to India, then we'd have this.
You will probably fly to Madrid,
Madrid,
or
yeah.
maybe to Mexico. We know.
I assume from Peru and Chile, you do fly to, yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You fly to Madrid.
We fly to all the capitals of Central and South America.
Yeah. Which is interesting. I mean, looking at it another way, like for example, all these African countries have direct links with Paris,
Yes.
and even if you want to travel from one Francophonia African country to another, you would have to go via Paris. You see, as you'd have to do with Anglophone Africa. I assume, though I haven't traveled Anglophone Africa, but I would assume that you'd have to go to London first and then come down to Africa again. Okay, if there be no further questions, comments, what I will do is, as a token of our appreciation, you already have it, I will give you a copy of a publication of ours, India Today, by Stuart Coleridge, John Harris, and Craig Jeffrey, to remember us by.
Thank you very much.
And I would invite all of you to a tea reception outside to interact further with the ambassador and among yourselves. Thank you. Thank you very much.